How about now, Milo?
Good to go.
All right, folks. I've recorded this for all the folks who can't join us, but we've got 94 participants this morning, and you are on with the Miller brothers. Uh, Dalton and Miles are here to talk to you about OEP, which I know it makes me want to hurl, is just 12 days away. I feel like I was saying these things about Medicare not that long ago, and here we are again talking about it for ACA. So we wanted to get this together to talk about some important regulatory updates that everybody on this call needs to know about. Talk about how we help people with ACA. I know people rely on us very heavily for Medicare, but as of late, people are loving our ACA platform, and we want to show you how it works and how to do it. And then also give you an OEP game plan, um, give you a thoughtful new idea on how to manage your open enrollment period. So we'll get right into it. Miles, anything you want to say before we get started?
No, excited to be here, and I think we're going to go through a little bit of a game plan of how to send out the ACA survey, how it's going to make these next couple weeks easier. But I'll let you get it started here.
Yeah, yeah, and this is all this is. Everybody who leaves here, 45 minutes from now, will have a game plan on how to make their next few weeks easier. Between November 15th and January 15th, um, it's really a tough time to be an insurance agent. Some would say it's a sucky time, especially with the changes that have been being made. So, again, here's what we're going to be talking about today. Short, sweet, and to the point. Expect to walk out of here 45 minutes. But let's talk about the trend. What the heck is going on? Um, for those of you who pay close attention to the Facebook groups, who are clued in to what CMS, and these very long reports that they send out, I've seen in the ACA industry, because that's all we're talking today is ACA, 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 is um, the flippening. It's been absolute AOR madness. Uh, there have been a growing number of really bad actors in our industry, people who were taking advantage of a loophole that was in the ACA marketplace in terms of basically just AORing people. Um, if you're thinking to yourself, what does that mean, or what is that? People are just flipping your clients from you being the agent of record to them with absolutely no idea from the beneficiary's end. They have no clue that this is going on. So it's really a horrible, horrible scenario. It happened, I think, almost a million times. This is the CMS report. It looks like there were 4 to 5 million people improperly enrolled in an ACA plan, which is just absolutely bananas. So you've got CMS out here who's dealing with this problem where people are being AOR'd and flipped. And so they come out with, for the first time ever, a ACA consent form. Very similar to the Medicare scope of appointment, simply consent to speak about plans. And so that was sort of their rebuttal to this, the flippening, as I call it, people flipping one from to another. But uh, not only did they roll that out, you're going to see a growing trend in this industry where what CMS is doing about the ACA consent form. But what we're seeing this year is dramatic amounts of spiking premiums. Um, there's an article in ABC News about this. Some enrollees are experiencing 300% premium upticks, and the Kaiser Family Foundation, which we're going to talk about here in a second, says some families can expect doubling their premium. And so all of this madness is happening in the ACA universe. Um, all while our friends in the federal government have decided to shut down. So this is not something that we're going to anticipate massive regulatory improvements from the government because they ain't working. But you know what all of us are doing? We're working. So that's why I want everybody to sort of, instead of letting these things kind of happen unto them, but let's take up arms and let's do something about it, and let's make our lives easier in the process. So this is what's going on. Here is the result. Um, with the flippening, this AOR craziness, beneficiaries being flipped from one agent to another, to another, to another, unbeknownst to them, um, agents' books being decimated. CMS is cracking down on ACA consent forms. For the first time ever, a friend of mine, who many of you probably know, Luis Moreno, who does a lot of great YouTube content on this subject, has shared with me stories of agents losing their license, because they don't have an ACA consent form. So here's the nightmare scenario. Everybody on this call, RetireFlo, we do business with independent brokers, right? So we're dealing with the people who are the best in the industry, the people that we want to protect. We believe in what independent brokers do, right? And that is shared by many of our great partners. But the the worst case scenario is one of our independent brokers who uses RetireFlo goes out, enrolls someone in an ACA consent or an ACA plan, gets their a family squared away on an individual plan, and um, and then a grievance gets filed against them because of something silly, maybe a drug was spelled wrong, or a dosage was improperly taken care of, and that family goes to the pharmacy and it doesn't cost what they think it's going to cost. Grievance gets filed, and the carrier comes back in tandem with CMS and says, produce for me the ACA consent form that you have consent to talk to this person, and you can't produce it. Unlike before, there's a higher likelihood that that person's license is going to be struck from them. So this is not a suggestion anymore, it's a requirement. And so I think, as many of you have adopted the importance of the Medicare scope of appointment, if you're doing ACA, just think of it the same. It's not the same. There's no 48-hour rule in effect on the ACA consent form, but think of it the same. Think of it as the same importance. If I've got an ACA client, I've got to have my consent form. That's the deal. Because you don't want a precarious situation where you can't back yourself up. But along with, and this is, as we know, this is just general common sense. We're not talking about things here, ladies and gentlemen, that are too heady. These aren't government, monolithic concepts. When premiums change, what happens? Shopping goes up. This is no-brainer stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the truth. Shopping increases. And so, when you're looking at this and this in advance, there's things that you need to do to prepare for your ACA contacts to call you and want to shop. There's things, if you're going to do a nice job helping them shop, that you need to know about them. And we're going to talk about that. But all of this, crack down on ACA consent forms, increase shopping, a world after AOR madness, is all happening because, let's be real, in the middle of Medicare AEP. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this happens at the same time. I mean, I know it's a month apart. Medicare AEP started in on the 15th of October, and OEP starts on November 15th, but this is all at the same time. This is madness. And that's why we're so proud. We got 138 of you on here right now to talk about this. We know this is your busy season, so we're going to respect your time, but we also want to give you systems and ideas and better thought out concepts to manage this busy season. I'm home visiting my family in Columbus, Ohio, and the leaves are changing. This is a beautiful time of year. Okay, we want to have time with their families and not be miserable tracking down ACA consent forms and helping our folks shop, shop, shop. So, um, all of this is to say that there's good news coming and that we have a solution to help you with this. But also, I want to call into something a little bit more specific. I want to dive a little bit deeper into it. And that is that the model ACA consent form changed on July 19th, out of the blue. in the middle of nowhere this summer with no reason or regard to why it was July 19th, it changed. And there were two things that I think there were a lot of changes to it. I've actually pulled them up side by side so you can look at them here in a second. But uh, I wanted to bring this up because it really was sort of random. I mean, it had to happen at some point, but why July 19th? Who knows? So two things that were really, really important. There were other changes, but that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. There's increased language in the new ACA model consent form around the protection, storage, management, and maintenance of PII, personal information, your demographic stuff, your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, and then PHI, the health stuff. In our case, really managing drugs, doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. But so we got an old one that came out in 2023 in the fall. That's the old consent form. And then we've got a new one. And the new one also makes a specific reference to, I'm going to geek out on you, but it's called 45 CFR 155.220. And it's a specific reference to a regulation that CMS passed, allowing them to monitor and audit consent forms. And so take that as um, hey, we're CMS, and this is really important to us now. We wanted you to do this. We gave you a model consent form, and many agents adopted it, and it was really great. But now we want to make sure that we can audit these things, check them, and monitor them. But I keep talking about July 19th, and the reason that I keep talking about July 19th is because it was really random and strange. There was no specific date as to why, a reason why. And this again, these things were going to come as CMS sees fit. That is not your responsibility as an agent to, I mean, ideally, everybody would sign up for CMS press releases and switch out their ACA consent forms as they see fit. But what I'm saying, why I bring this to your attention is it's our job. It's our job to do that. And so when this thing came out, we flipped it over, we changed out the language and made sure that this was updated. And so as an agent, your job is to serve beneficiaries. If you're a Medicare agent, it's to serve seniors. If you're an ACA agent, it's to serve people under 65 and their families. So don't spend all your time worrying about this stuff. Let Dalton and Miles worry about it, and Scott Miller, who's also on this call, and allow us to constantly manage these things for you so that way you're not collecting out-of-date ACA consent forms. If you have a consent form that you use, maybe you made a DocuSign or a Panda Docs or some sort of online form, and you're using the old one, it's out of date. And so rely on people like us to make these improvements and these enhancements for you. So, Miles, before I talk about how we suggest agents kind of tackle this, any questions that have come in that you think that I should be covering?
Um, I don't think so. The only one is, are consent forms required for plans enrolled off the marketplace? I think it's an important thing to go over.
That's a great question. I think it's good operating procedure to have it. Um, States like California, who have covered California, and the other state exchanges have different regulations around this. So check in with your state exchange if you live in one of those states, to see if this is a requirement. But like, let's let's operate in the world of CYA. I mean, I hate to be crass and talk, use expletives, but let's cover our butts here. Might as well. This is something that takes 2 seconds. It's a lot easier than the Medicare scope of appointment form, which many of you are familiar with. And we're actually going to go through what this looks like here into a second. So, um, anyways, great question, whoever asked that. But let's talk about how we can help. We have two different solutions to help you manage consent, help you manage data collection around PII and PHI. Um, and just as a reminder, before I go into this, I want to talk a little bit about data security. This is again, we're getting into geek mode, but I think it's really, really important. RetireFlo is HIPAA compliant and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, for those of you who are not web engineers, I wouldn't expect you to know, is really the gold standard in data security. Large organizations who, large carriers and people in the insure tech space sort of have that expectation that, okay, it's great that you're HIPAA compliant. That's sort of the way to enter into the universe. And then secondarily, are you SOC 2 Type 2 compliant? And that's a universe where a PHI is secure. RetireFlo proudly meets both of those achievements. And if anybody's curious and wants to see that, Miles is going to put our trust center in the chat, which is trust.retireflo.com, just to make everybody aware of how strenuous it is, the efforts that we take to keep your data safe. But we've got answers. Okay. It's madness out there, right? Increased shopping. There's a crackdown on consent forms. How the hell am I going to manage this in the middle of Medicare AEP? Many of you are Medicare agents, right? Some of you aren't, but many of you are. We got two ways. We've got two systems on retireflo.com. Again, this is where you can purchase anything. This is where our system lives, on retireflo.com. And if you're not there all the time, you're doing something wrong, this AEP and OEP. But we've got two systems to help you manage this. One is our full-blown ACA survey. What do we do at RetireFlo? We offer surveys to help you prepare for meetings, intake forms, right? Collecting the stuff that you need to help shop, quote, and enroll your people. We have an ACA form. Many of you have heard about it. Many of you have asked us, hey, Dalton, what is that? And we're going to show you how you can test this out yourself. We're all going to go through it together to see the questions that we ask. We're going to go through a scenario of Bob Buckeye and his family. But we, on that survey, really focus on collecting the things you need to run quotes for ACA. Who's in the household? That's the first thing that we're going to ask. How many people are there? It's one thing to help one person in the household. It's another thing to write a family of four. It's a great day for an ACA agent when you get a family. And we're going to capture a lot of things about that family, about that, not only all their demographic data, like their emails and phone numbers and addresses, but we're going to find out what their income levels are, what their smoking status is, their prescriptions, doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. And then ultimately, we're going to capture a secure, compliant ACA consent form, which is pretty cool. So imagine you could send this to a potential client and capture everything you need to go out and run a quote, whether it's through a state exchange, whether that's through Health Sherpa, whatever that might be. And we're going to talk about our budding and growing and awesome relationship with Health Sherpa here at the end. So that's option one. That one's a full-blown ACA system. Okay. And we're going to talk about, it costs $50 a month, but there's a but coming for everybody, for all 145 people who tuned into this. But we also have just the ACA consent form. That's what it is. I don't want to overcomplicate it. It's an ACA consent form that's secure, it's compliant, and it lives inside of RetireFlo alongside your other surveys, alongside, maybe just with your ACA consent, your ACA survey as well. So maybe you're in a scenario where you're like, okay, I really want to make sure that I'm getting in the habit of adding these ACA consent forms, building this into my system. And I don't necessarily want to capture and ask all these 10 questions over here on the other side. I've got a system for that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I would argue ours is the best. It really is, and agents agree. And you just want a surgical, hey, I want to get this squared away, ACA consent form. We offer one for $10 a month, unlimited sends, unlimited submissions. These work just the same as our Medicare surveys. If you've used them before, they're really, really easy. They're branded with your logo and your headshot. And we're going to do a demo here in just a second. But the one thing that I really, really wanted to do this call for, and for the 150 people who are on here, is our full-blown ACA survey costs $50 a month. Our ACA consent form costs $10 a month. We can talk about the 99s, but let's just be real. That's how much it costs. We're straight shooters here at RetireFlo. But for those of you who want to get prepared, who want to show up locked and loaded for OEP, we wanted to do this. We released a brand new special promo code OEP40. This is available for agents this OEP. If you use it and you sign up for one of these tools with that 40% off discount code, it is 40% off. That promo code will stay with you for life, but it won't always be available. It won't always be available for use. You can't go in and sign up in the spring using this code, but if you do, you get to keep it for life. So you get all of our surveys, all of our ACA surveys for 40% off. So on that ACA survey, the full-blown one, it ends up being $30 a month. And for our ACA consent form, it's only $6 a month. So these are no-brainer, low pressure, easy, low cost, affordable solutions to help make sure that you don't lose your license. People are like, oh my gosh, Dalton, is there a way that, I bought the Medicare form, I'm using it, it works great, but, I want to bundle the ACA consent form into it. We don't offer bundles. Like it's just not technically feasible within our system. But for either $6 a month or for $30 a month, guys, protect your license, protect your business. If you don't want in CMS's eyes to be a part of the crackdown, you want to be part of the solution, helping people shop, not being on the list of people who's in trouble for the flippening and doing something non-compliant. So it is all caps OEP40. You can add it in your payment settings today. If you already have a RetireFlo account, it's in your account settings under payment settings, and we're going to go through how to do that here in just a moment. But I want to give everybody a demo of our full ACA consent form. These are the questions that you should be asking. So whether you buy this or not, which I truly, truly believe you should to help protect yourself, these are the questions that we're asking. We're very open here at RetireFlo. We want you to have a game plan. So take this into account, help us mold your ACA meetings. But I'm going to go through my ACA consent or survey so that way you can see how it looks and feels. Miles, can you see that? Can you see my whole screen?
I can. Ken, you're good to go.
Okay, so
Um, and Dalton, before you get started, I want to ask you a question. If a current client or a new prospect, walks in the door and you send them the Retire Flow survey, what are the odds you are going to lose that client to another agent?
literally zero. Okay. And Miles knows how to uh, get me fired up. But almost zero. Okay. Folks, if people are going to go through the time to answer these questions with you, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to get flipped. They're not going to call up another agent because they're going to know that you're working on this. Let me ask you this, Miles. I'll ask you one in return. If I go to my doctor's office and the nice person up front hands me a clipboard and says, "Hey, the doctor would like you to fill this out before your appointment." Um, and I fill it out. Am I going to leave that office and go to a different doctor? No,
No.
because I know this doctor's prepared, has everything that they need on me. I'm going to take this appointment with the doctor and make sure that I take his suggestion into account. And I'm not saying we're doctors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm certainly not. I'm an Ohio State graduate who had some sketchy grades in college. Okay. We love the Bucks, but I wasn't a fantastic student. But this is something that we have to take seriously. While we are not doctors, there's some certain health information that is really, really important for us to run a quote on Health Sherpa or in Covered California or in one of the state exchanges. There's stuff that we have to plug in. And if we just fly blind into those things, if we collect that data non-securely, we're going to put ourselves in a really tough situation. So let's go through this ACA survey like I'm a client, and you can just see what the experience is. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, This is what our surveys look like. They're white labeled with your logo, your headshot. Again, it looks and feels like you. We added Espanol for our Spanish speakers. I know that's a growing market in the ACA world. So we're proud that we released that earlier this summer. But hey there, I'm Dalton Miller. Hey there, I'm your name. Again, that's your headshot. You get to customize colors. I chose green for ACA. I don't know why. I just feel like ACA is green. It just works in my brain. But we're going to ask for my client's legal name. And in this case, he's going to be Bob Buckeye. Go Bucks. We just pummeled Penn State on Saturday. So we're going to learn about Bob and his family. Hey, Bob, let's get started. We're going to ask him for his email. He's Bob at BuckeyeFan101@gmail.com. Oh, that's two. He's not two. That's crazy. He doesn't have it at gmail.com too. So we're going to ask him for his address. Miles, any address, ring off the hook, maybe the office address.
Let's go 6365 Riverside Drive.
So when Bob selects his address, it's going to auto-populate with his zip and his county. So stuff that you need to run your quotes, but Bob doesn't have to type it. He just selects his address from a drop-down menu. It's going to auto-populate. And it's actually going to power some of the searches we've got coming up. We're going to learn about Bob's household. How we're going to ask him, how many members of your house do you claim on your tax return, including yourself? So we want to make sure we prompt Bob by asking him, questions. He might have some more people in his house, but we want to know who he claims on his tax return. So maybe he's got 3 family members, including himself. Number 1, our friend Bob Buckeye. We got his name already pre-locked and loaded in there. Let's ask for his date of birth. He was born on January 1st, 1965. And does he smoke? Yes, he does. He smokes Parliament Lights. And his projected annual income is Bob, unfortunately, just got laid off from his business or from his company. So Bob, maybe with some side hustles, makes $10,000 a month, or I mean a year. We even give him some suggestions on how to calculate that. The stuff that we need for to run a quote in our quoting tools. We're going to ask for his second member of the household. This is Betty Buckeye, his wife. And she was born on May 1st of 1967. She is not a smoker, and she gets mad at Bob about his smoking habits, which he shouldn't do. That's unhealthy. And she is the breadwinner of the household. She has a company where she makes $100,000 a year. So she's floating everybody. And this relation is spouse. And then lastly, we're going to ask for their third member, which is their son, Billy Buckeye. Billy Buckeye was born on April 1st of 2001, making him, I think, 24 years old. Is that right, Miles?
Before.
24. He is not a smoker. He better not. Bob and Betty would get mad, and he is a failure to launch. So he doesn't make any money. He stays at home and is dependent on his parents. He makes $0 on average. Let's get Billy a job here. This is my child. This is his son, Billy. So that's his relation. Awesome. Those are the things that we need to know about our clients. So then we're going to ask who requires coverage. Bob got laid off. He had coverage through his employer. Again, this is sort of a made up scenario, but you can kind of bear with us. We asked for, does he need coverage? He sure does. Now we're going to ask for some health information about Bob. So we're going to ask for his prescriptions. And for those of you who are familiar with our Medicare survey, this is the same built-in list, the best in the industry, powered by Connect Your DRX. We're using their APIs to run this system. So we're going to learn about his prescriptions. Bob takes Lipitor, but he really means that he takes the generic atorvastatin. And then we're going to ask him for his dosage quantity and frequency. Maybe Bob also takes Ozempic, which is another popular one. But this time, remember, it doesn't come in a package of 30 pills. It comes as an injectable. Or maybe Bob takes an inhaler, or he uses a special lotion or cream. We're going to denote that here in the package section. So again, he can add up to 25 prescriptions here. We're going to learn about his pharmacies. Bob goes to CVS here in Dublin, Ohio. He also maybe goes to, I'm going to delete CVS, and maybe he goes to a specific compounding pharmacy like this one, maybe. And then we're going to ask for his preferred hospitals. He can add up to three, and Bob goes to the Ohio State University Hospital System. And when he winters in Florida with his wife, he goes to Florida Flagler. That's a nice area. He can add multiple, up to three hospitals here. And then we're going to ask about his doctors. His primary care physician is Gregory House from the TV show, and he works at Ohio Doctor Network. And his office location is in Dublin, Ohio, which is a very popular town here in Columbus. And we got people from all across the country. He can add a specialist here as well. He sees Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy as his cardiologist. We got a built-in list of ologists there. And her practice name is, I don't know, Grey's Anatomy Network. That's her practice. And her specialty, her office location is in Columbus, Ohio, in downtown. So he can add multiple specialists here. Then we're going to learn about Betty. Does Betty need coverage? Betty's got a booming job. Remember? I know this is not a perfect example, but just imagine with me, Betty doesn't need coverage in this scenario. So we're not going to ask her those complicated health questions. We want to get through this as easy as possible. Maybe Bob doesn't know about what prescriptions she takes, and if she doesn't need coverage, we don't need to know. And then we're going to ask lastly about Billy Buckeye. Does this member require coverage? Yes. And he takes one prescription. He takes, I don't know, Synthroid, probably a bad example for a son, but he does. And he takes levothyroxine, puts his dosage in there. He's good to go. He doesn't need to go to a pharmacy. He's young and healthy. He goes no hot preferred hospitals. He's got no PCP because he's young Billy and he doesn't need a doctor. He's invincible, right? But just I want to get you through the concept of what this experience might look like for someone, and what the report you're going to get on the back end is. All right, Bob, almost done. Just a few more questions. We're going to ask for Bob's phone number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to ask him, is there any additional information that Bob feels is important about his coverage? So Bob doesn't know. Bob's not an insurance agent, right? But maybe there's some things he wants to share with you that are really, really important to him, that he thinks are important to his coverage. You might know that they're not, but he wants to share them. So I just got laid off at the maybe he makes football factory, and I need my hip replaced next year. I don't know. Maybe that's important to Bob. We're going to give him the chance to share it. All right, let's wrap this up. We flag for him, hey, here comes the consent form. This is really, really important for us to capture. We're letting him know why we need it. And then here is the ACA consent form. Again, fully translatable into Spanish if you need it. But I, Bob Buckeye, give permission to Dalton Miller, my insurance agent, and goes through the full ACA consent form with the additional PHI requirements that we talked about. And then his name is Bob Buckeye. We pull in his phone number and email from before, and we include today's date, and he signs and completes. And when he does, he gets this nice screen from you that says your name and your agency will contact you soon. Now, as a reminder, you can even add your scheduling link to this page, maybe a shopping link or something like that. I don't have one on here, but you could add a scheduling link built into the service right here on RetireFlo. So Bob Buckeye has done his part, right? He's put in what he needs, what you need to know, and things that we think that Bob knows off the top of his head, without sort of scaring Bob about what you're going to do with this information. Sometimes people ask us, Dalton, can you include social security number? Dalton, can you include, Bob's, third grade middle school teacher or third grade teacher's name? No, we want to ask Bob for things that he knows off the top of his head that he can complete here, like we just did in sub 10 minutes, to help you prepare for your meeting compliantly. We can't capture social security number. If we did, people wouldn't complete the survey. So we want to make sure that we capture things that aren't going to scare our clients. So that way, maybe ultimately, when you have that meeting with Bob, you can ask for the social security number in a secure, compliant fashion. So keep that in mind. RetireFlo is not designed to dive into Bob's inner thoughts about everything and capture the most important data points to ultimately enroll Bob in a plan immediately without talking to him. That's not the spirit of this survey. The spirit of the survey is to make sure that you are prepared for the meeting that you're going to have with Bob this OEP. So let's see what we got. What did we get on Bob? Well, I'm going to head over to RetireFlo. And what do you know? I got a little notification here. Uh-oh, new survey submission from Bob Buckeye. And I log in and I check it out. Here in my submission center is a full-blown report on retireflo.com of everything I need to know about Bob. Let's download it and see what we get. A perfect, beautiful, secure form summarizing everything that you need to know about Bob. His name, the main beneficiary, all of his contact information, and any additional info that we need to know about him. Here's
And
his.
Don, I'm going to stop you real quick.
Sure, sure.
Can you scroll back up to the first step? There we go. What might you do with that notes section on the first page?
Yeah, we give this to you intentionally because you might want to print this off, this document off, and give it to Bob as a take home for your meeting. Maybe you want it to print it off and write your own notes for your secure files at your office. I'm personally am pretty anti-paper, but we recognize that people want to print these things off and use it to inform and guide their meeting. You might want to print this off, run some quotes, write it down, and then show up to a meeting with Bob with your document in hand to help guide you through the meeting. So what you put in that note section is totally up to you, but great question, Miles. We're going to ask, now we've got everything that we need to know about Bob. Here's member one. He was the most built out, right? He had the most stuff that we need to take into consideration. So does Bob require coverage? Oh, yeah. When's his date of birth? Does he use tobacco? His annual income, his relationship to the main beneficiary, his hospitals, doctors, clearly listed. No more reading, handwriting. Bob did not have to put in a username, a password, or a code to fill out a Panda doc or an incognito form that you guys pay $100 a month for. Um, no more. This is designed for us, for ACA agents to secure and compliantly manage this stuff. So if you've got an old busted form that you're jerry rigging together, whether it's online or on paper, time to retire it. It's probably not compliant. It's probably not SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And it's certainly not going to capture everything that you need like we're going to capture. So
And
again,
and Dalton, I want to share a quick story that I experienced last week. So I had a demo, Retire Flow demo with an agent from Indiana. I'm not going to say their name. Um, I was going through the demo and I asked them, how'd you hear about Retire Flow? And they told me I heard about it through my beneficiary, and
through
that's
the
not
client,
something we hear through the client. And I was like, what do you mean you heard it through the client? This new prospect was shopping agents. She was looking at multiple different agents. Agent one sent her the Retire Flow survey. She completed it. Agent two that I spoke to sent her a job form.
wow,
Very, very hard to complete. Had to type
ugly.
everything in, ugly. And the client decided to go with the agent who sent the retirable survey out.
That's wild. That's wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, and as beneficiaries grow and kind of manage technology-based world, I'm not gonna fill something out that looks jank. on the internet. I want something to look professional, secure, to clearly denote that it's secure. And so, I'm glad to hear that, Miles, because it's like, if I'm doing this, if I'm going for an individual plan in the ACA market, I want something that looks legit. If you've hobbled together a jot form that looks like it was built by your nephew, who's a tech person, who that he hobbled together on a jot form, you're going to lose clients. That's a bad front door. You want something that's easy to read, easy to manage, looks pretty. And that's what we set out to do here at RetireFlo. So here's Bob's prescriptions and even a little bit more notes section. Betty Buckeye, again, she doesn't need coverage, but you do know her projected annual income. And so you go, uh-oh, I understand the dynamic in the household here. If I know these things before Bob comes in, this is a slam dunk meeting. Okay. I know everything that I need to know. I even have a little bit of a guesstimate of the family dynamics here. Betty's the breadwinner. Okay. So I got to figure out what we're going to do for Bob. And then ultimately, Billy. He takes a prescription and his physicians and his pharmacies, again, he doesn't need anything. And then lastly, here is the ACA consent form updated with the stuff that you need to know. And then what's cool about our system is that we capture first Bob's information and Bob's signature. We include the date it was completed and its IP address that he completed it on. So we're going to store that here in the consent form. But when it's time, excuse me, for me to sign the ACA consent form, I simply go into my RetireFlo Submission Center and press sign, and I fill out my portion of the ACA consent form, forever modifying that document and storing it here amongst my other surveys, amongst my other submissions. So I hear from agents all the time. They go, wow, Dalton, I really want a system where everything works together and all my data is stored in one place. Well, folks, that's RetireFlo. You can store your Medicare intake information here, your ACA intake information here, your life intake information here. And not only that, all this data is going to flow into your CRMs, into your systems. We're going to expose it for you so that way you can modify it, download it, run reports, just like Medicare. If let's say I wanted to run a report of all of my ACA submissions and look at it in in an Excel file, just press download CSV or Excel, and I select I want my ACA surveys. It's going to produce for me a CSV or Excel file. So that is ultimately what our ACA survey is designed to do, to collect, manage, and store this data in a way that it's easy to use. The font is big. It's easy to use for the beneficiary, and it's easy to use for the agent, keeping you secure and compliant the whole way. So that's how we want to help. Now, reminder, we also offer a solo ACA consent form. And that survey is literally just one page. It's the ACA consent form. I'm happy to show it to you here if you want to see it. Very, very simple. It's just the ACA consent form. I'll kind of burn and churn it real fast. Where is it? Boom. This is our ACA consent form. I'm going to go to mine. This is what it looks like. White labeled again with my logo, my headshot. It says sign consent form. Imagine I'm the beneficiary now. And I press let's go. Here's the consent form. No questions, short, sweet, to the point. So if you're heeding our guidance and you're like, man, wow, this seems like a concern that I got to get this buttoned up. This one is $10 a month with your promo code $6 a month, OEP 40. And folks, when you want to add one of these two surveys, you simply log into retireflo.com. And Miles, you might want to put this in the chat. Make sure it goes out to everybody. You log into retireflo.com. You go to the survey marketplace. You pick which one you want. Do you want ACA, or do you want to scroll down and just get the ACA consent form? That's it. That's really, really it. You press select. You can even try the survey out for yourself before you buy it. You're like, oh my goodness, I don't really remember what Dalton went through. It was a busy time of year. You can try the survey yourself. So that's what we do. We have multiple different payment plans. I saw a person ask about this. And I do want to get to talking about how we suggest to manage OEP here in a moment. But we got a couple of different payment plans. You can pay up front for the whole year. You can go into an annual contract with us and pay monthly, or you can do cancel any time. And that one costs a little bit more because it's a lot of burn and churn for us. Same with the ACA consent form. You can do monthly, $15 a month, do a 12-month contract for $10, or pay up front for 100. Again, all of these 40% off with promo code OEP40.
And Dalton, many of the agents on here might already have a promo code. What would happen in that scenario?
You don't even need to add the code. It's going to automatically apply. And you can double check this. If you want to make sure that you've got your promo code in place, you scroll down to your account settings, you click on payment settings, and then here is a list of all the transactions that you have with us. And you can put in your discount code here. Under traditional links, discount code, you'd put in OEP40. You press add. Let's make sure that that promo code is sticky. It's in there, locked and loaded. And then you can go in and purchase your surveys in the survey marketplace. So make sure this is squared away. And folks, don't call us and say, I like this, buy this for me. Okay, go ahead and add it. Go ahead and add it. We don't do that. I'm not saying that to be grumpy. I'm just saying that because it's the truth. Our system is incredibly secure, and you're the only one who can go in and modify that. So if you want to do this, take these things into account. If you're thinking to yourself, you've got some crust on your eyes this morning because you're in the middle of OEP and you're stressed out in AEP, take this into account. You can add these things in literally 30 seconds. But it's very, very simple. You log in, you click Survey Marketplace, and you add the ACA consent form or the ACA survey or the ACA consent form. But Miles, I do, while we have everybody, want to talk about what we think people should do this OEP.
Yeah,
And the most important thing, and then we're going to take some time to do some questions. The most important thing you can do, and Miles, you want to say it because you say it all the time.
is send it out. And I want to make a point here is the Miller family, we are not tech giants. We are agents.
Yeah.
As many of you know, we come from an agency in Ohio. This is something we send out every single day at our agency. And we get a very, very high response rate. I've sent this out to every single one of my prospects. Every single one of us completed it. So I walk into the meeting, I am ready to go with quotes and prepared to meet with the client.
Yeah, we've got a member of our team. His name's Cam Solomon. He's in charge of our ACA operation at our home agency. Um, all he does is he copy and pastes his RetireFlo ACA link and he sends it to his clients before the meeting. Shows up prepared every single time. Serves hundreds and hundreds of clients. He's ready to rock. So when we say send it out, that's what we mean. Send it out to your people. If you've got a client who comes in for a meeting and you don't send him the survey beforehand, is he going to complete it? No. Okay. And so, and especially in our under 65 market, you guys saw how easy this survey was. It asked like 8 questions. Couldn't be easier. Send this thing out to them. Give these people a chance to complete it beforehand. So that way, when you show up prepared, you get it in, you're going to go, oh, I actually learned that there's a fourth dependent in this household. I'm going to write a fourth policy. So that's what our survey is designed to sort of scrape those things out of people to collect that information. But send it out, blast it out, email it out to your ACA clients who want to shop, email it to your prospects, email it to everybody, text it to everybody. If you've got a prospect or a client, anyone who wants to talk to you about ACA, send them this survey. You need the ACA consent form, right? So you might as well collect this other stuff as well. And then the second step, once you get your information back, is run your quotes in Health Sherpa or a state exchange. Take this data, plug it in, and you're ready to rock. Maybe you're in a scenario where you're licensed in multiple states. That's the beauty of RetireFlo. It works for all 50. So collect this information, plug it into your systems, and get ready to rock and roll. And folks, I will say this on this call, and I'm very proud of our friendship with Health Sherpa. As many of you just saw, we rolled out our integration with Health Sherpa for Medicare. Um, we are in close communication with their team about um, about an integration between delivering RetireFlo submission data on ACA into Health Sherpa for ACA. You can quote me on that. You can quote my friend Jeff Kriege from the Health Sherpa team on that. I'm not speaking out of turn. We love Health Sherpa and what they're doing. We want to make sure that we are able to deliver that information to them sometime in the future. It doesn't exist yet, but we really want it. And it also wouldn't hurt if y'all told Health Sherpa you wanted it too, because we recognize the importance of that. But simply collect the data securely, compliantly, run your quotes in those systems. And then lastly, store your consent forms securely alongside your Medicare and your life insurance intake forms in RetireFlo. We got to keep them for 10 years, the requirement. We'll probably end up keeping them longer than that, but we're not 10 years old yet. But collect this stuff, store it, keep it in RetireFlo, put it into your CRM, maybe run reports, keep this stuff. But if it gets into RetireFlo, it's safe there, ready for you to utilize it to run your quotes. But this is an OEP game plan in a box. You take your link, email it to your people, you text it to your clients, whatever it might be, you run your quotes.
Dalton, how fast can you have an ACA survey ready to go?
Instantly. Great question, Miles. If I'm on this call and I want to use promo code OEP40, or if I already have a promo code, which many of you do, I'm going to go to retireflo.com. I'm going to go to the survey marketplace. I'm going to pick the ACA survey. I'm going to decide what contract I want to buy it on. Oh, let's do it. Let's all do it together. I want to pay monthly for it, and I'm going to make sure my credit card information is correct. We're going to store that for you on file. I'm going to agree and subscribe. And then this thing is ready to rock as fast as I can upload my headshot, my logo, put in my name. Yeah, do you guys know your names? You guys know the stuff off the top of your head. I choose my own unique URL. So maybe I want it to be Miller ACA, and I add the states I'm licensed to do business in, my hometown. I wanted to choose my own color, maybe your purple, whatever matches your business. Do I want to include a scheduling link? And lastly, who do I want to be notified when I receive a new submission? And I press finish. I'm done. Instantly, the moment I press finish, that survey is live and ready to send, ready to protect my business to ensure that I have the consent forms that I need so I don't get my license struck from me. This is a no-brainer, low-pressure situation to prepare for OEP. It's November 3rd. You got a chance to send this out a bunch of times before November 15th and send it out over and over and over again before January 15th finishes. So with that, Miles, any questions that have come in that you want me to take?
Somebody asked if it was mobile friendly. You argue it almost looks better on the phone. The font's
It's very,
humongous.
very mobile friendly. Very mobile.
Mhm. And what do we see? 65% of submissions were done over the phone last year.
Yeah. Lisa asked a great question. I'm in the process of doing this. Do I need a different URL for ACA? Yes. So if your Medicare one is Lisa Medicare, this one should be Lisa ACA. The URL determines where we send people. So you need to have a different URL. What else, Miles?
Let's see here. Not too many questions.
Susan asked, does the ACA integrate into GHL at a minimum? At a minimum, this thing does a lot for you. Yes, it does integrate into Go High Level. It doesn't integrate into some of the Medicare CRMs yet, but we're working on that. So great question. Um,
Dalton, is this something you can send to referral partners?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Send it to anyone. Great place to start is sending it to referral partners. If you've got somebody who's moving off a company plan and they're under 65, have your referral partner be ready to send out this link. It's the same link every time. It's retireflo.com/ Dalton ACA or whatever yours is. Ann Taylor said something great. Health Sherpa desperately needs a way to store this data for each client. I will go tell Health Sherpa. We appreciate that, Ann. Thank you. We agree. This stuff's really, really important. We want to make sure that we can deliver it. Um, let's see here. So, and folks, if you want to add that discount code, again, make sure you want to get OEP in there, OEP 40 before you go buy it. Two-step process: account settings, payment settings, and then you add that survey or that promo code right here under traditional links discount code. What else, Miles?
Susan asked a great question. How do I make a page for a referral partner?
Great question. It's the same as making any old survey page. So I've got one for, let's see here, a health system in California. If I wanted to make one for them, it's really, really simple. It looks and feels like this, but it's just got their logo up in the top left. So when we ask for the logo, when you set it up, press manage right here, I put their logo instead of mine. And I customize the link to be retireflo.com/Providence Group. Maybe I've got a health system that I work with. Maybe I've got a financial planner who sends me a lot of business. Maybe I work with an HR director at a company. For instance, well, here's a concept. I'm in Dublin, Ohio. What if I worked with the HR director at Wendy's, the fast food restaurant that's headquartered here in Columbus? Here it is. You got to go buy another survey with us, but it's worth it. If you capture one person from that link, it paid for itself for an entire year. But if you work with your HR directors, your referral partners, there's no telling you. I got this agent in Florida who works with the retirees from a county. I don't know how that works. I'm not an expert in Florida, but he made a survey link for the county, and this dude is printing submissions, absolutely running it up. And that's the beauty of RetireFlow. You pay for the survey, you get as many submissions as you want. And those are clients. A RetireFlow survey completed is an application earned or an application retained. And if you're looking at ways to manage OEP, premium spiking, CMS cracking down on consent forms, this is a no-brainer way to do it. Plug into RetireFlow, go into your survey marketplace and add that today. Anything else before we go, Miles?
I think the last thing I want to touch on is if you can click on the resources real quick.
Sure.
I bothered Dalton for about 6 months about this, but we have templates. If you're looking for a easy way to send this out and we have the emails ready to go. We have Medicare emails, we have ACA emails, whatever you need, they are in the resource section. We could go through every little resource in there, but just log into your RetireFlow account, click on resources. There's a lot of good information in there.
Yeah, and guys, don't overthink it. Like, uh, Comthon is asking, does my referral partner pay a separate 9.99 fee? No, no. I mean, I just want to pass it along to them. I don't. Absolutely not. You make this, you pay for it. This is your thing. You're basically, guys, all you're doing is making a survey. You're making a website with the questions. You can go in there, you got different payment options. And folks, if you've got questions, you remember at the top of RetireFlow, you can select troubleshoot. We're always here to help you with questions, but this is not hard. Guys, can you upload your headshot and your logo, put in your agency name, choose your own unique website? Yes, got this. No big deal. And then when you're done with this page, you copy your link and you send it to your client. You're done. That's it. That's it. Tammy asks, is a group survey on the horizon? Not yet. Something we're considering though. But Comthon asks, but if I'm getting one for myself and one for my partner, is it $9.99 or is it $20? Great question. Every survey that you purchase from us is the listed price. So if you buy one for yourself and you buy one for your brother Miles or whoever it might be to customize it with its own branding, each survey is a separate cost. Susan asks, if anyone on this call is not using RetireFlow, you're crazy, which I agree.
And you know, your discount code's going to apply to all of your surveys that you purchase. So
Yes, in
if you purchase three, yeah, 40% off on all three of them.
all three of them. That promo code gets in there. You'll see it. It's clearly listed. It's going to say, hey, this is how much this is going to cost for you. And then that if you're on a monthly plan with us or an annual plan with us, that thing is locked in for life. OEP 40 is locked in for life. You may not be able to use it new. Like if you say, I'm going to go do this next year, OEP 40 ain't going to work. But if you use it, it will get locked in for life. Um, did I miss the answer to my question about calling into Penny? We do not have any relationship with Penny, but you can use RetireFlo to collect the data to use for any enrollment platform or any enrollment system. Anything else before we go here, Miles? Because we just crossed over our time.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's let agents get back to work here.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, go add that survey right now. It's in the RetireFlo survey marketplace under ACA or under ACA consent form. Both are great solutions, but we're so proud to serve you here at RetireFlo. We know we're in the thick of it. If you've got questions, rely on our Facebook group, Medicare Island. That's there for you as well. I'll copy the paste and the link in here for that. But great place to get started and manage your OEP. We're proud to serve you again. Miller Brothers, signing off.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.